Hi, everyone, and welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now. Well, if the previous conversation that we had around retirement and how a majority of the Indians have absolutely no plan for retirement and why that could really land you in some serious financial peril has motivated you to kickstart your retirement planning, then this conversation that we're going to have now is for you. You can also, of course, talk to us by sending us an email on themoneyshow@etnow.tv. Any question that you may be having on retirement, on how to plan for it, if you don't know where to start off, this is the conversation for you. Let's bring on board Mr. Pankaj Mathpal. He's the MD of Optima Money Managers. Pankaj, thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now and on The Money Show. So to start off with, I was just speaking with Ajit Menon, the CEO of PGIM India Mutual Fund, and he spoke, like I was flagging off, that a majority of Indians don't have a retirement plan. So firstly, why do you think Indians and everybody, let's not just say Indians, but everybody needs to have a retirement plan?
That is very true. See, because anywhere in the world means people need to have a retirement plan. Maybe in some countries there are some social security plan and government provides some support, but especially in India where we do not have such plans or adequate plan for that, it becomes very important that we should plan as early as possible. And because there is a certain limit to work, see, somebody will work the age of 60, 65, 70, but at any point of time one has to stop working. But because life expectancy is increasing day by day, means for the younger generation the life expectancy will be higher than the previous generation. So considering that fact, everybody has to plan, because you need lots of money if you retire at the age of 60, 65, whenever. Means it's not that your job conditions are like you have to get superannuation, but in any condition at a point of time you will stop working. So after that, say if you retire at 60 years of age and live till the age of 85, 90, so 25, 30 years you have to uh, live with that money what you have accumulated by the time. So very important that you have to have proper planning with inflation, because sometime it happens people think of having money for future, but they do not consider inflation. So if we see the inflation of 6-7%, the amount what is required in future and what is planned by somebody, that may not be sufficient. So that is why as soon as possible one should plan for that.
Okay. Mr. Mathpal, what is step one then? I mean, sometimes it's just easier said than done as well, that, okay, I want to plan for retirement, I want to plan for retirement. But what is step one in the retirement planning process?
Yeah, Mobina, see, first thing is that you have to understand what is your household expenses right now. And when I say household expenses, see, right now you may be spending money on your EMIs, on your children education, but when you retire, by the time we can expect that these things like your EMI, home loan EMI especially, or your children education, those responsibilities will be over. So you have to plan for your household expenses mainly. So if you see your right now what expenses you have, and considering some inflation, say 5 to 6%, 7%, depending, average you say 6%, for example, and number of years left for retirement. If you're 30 years old today and say you spend 50,000 rupees per month, so it means the future value of 50,000 after 30 years with inflation of 6%, how much money you will need every month that time. And considering that money every month, and because inflation will not stop after retirement, that will continue. So considering that inflation adjusted returns post retirement, that whatever corpus you accumulate and you say invest that money at the time of retirement again for your annuity, and say 25, 30 years after that you need to survive on that money. So if you do this calculation, means first thing is that future value of present expenses, and then you calculate the corpus keeping in mind that inflation and return post retirement, you will come to some conclusion that how much money you will need. So always important that you should have the right calculation and right inflation in place before you calculate that.
So how do you, I mean, Mr. Mathpal, inflation and stuff like that sometimes is not something that our viewers may be very financially savvy with. So if you could guide them through that entire calculation process as well.
Yeah. See, first thing, there are so many calculators available these days on the websites of mutual funds, insurance. So you can take help of that. But in Excel also, you can do a simple calculation that what we call that compounding interest formula we use. So simply that if you're calculating time value of money, I mean future value in Excel, if the simple function you use of the future value, so if you put the present value, say 50,000, as I said, in the present value, and in interest rate, you put that 6% and number of years. For example, as I said, you are planning at the age of 30 for retirement at the age of 60. So 30 years, you will come to know that how much money you will need when you retire. So based on that, then you do again the present value calculation, that how much money you need. But instead of using this also, because I expect that not everybody will be so comfortable using Excel, is easy saying. But what I suggest that on the websites of many mutual funds, almost all mutual funds, house brokers and insurance companies, on their website and even in Google, you'll find that retirement calculator. So take the help of that. With that, you can calculate your how much corpus you need for your retirement. Even on the site of PFRDA and NSDL, where they guide you for NPS, there also you can find these calculators.
Okay. So that's, I suppose, step one, assessing how much you'll need. Take into account inflation as well. Lots of calculators, a simple Excel spreadsheet is of all you may need. But now, Mr. Mathpal, of course, is also with respect to how do you go about investing this money? Where do you park it, and how do you keep it away? I mean, if I'm earning X, should I keep away maybe 10% every year, or 15% every year for my retirement? How do you suggest one goes about it, especially while they are working, because that's when really you get the best?
Rovina, instead of thinking about this, see, as a rule of thumb, I can say that you must save 30% of your salary. But more than that, what is important, if you do a proper calculation, as I suggested, that you take of a help of any financial planner or these calculators. So once you come to know that how much money you need to accumulate, then it becomes very easy for you to calculate that how much you need to invest every month or every year to accumulate that much money. Second thing, when you plan early, see, if you have 30, 35 years in hand, because if you start earning, if you start working at the age of 25, you will have, say, 35 years in hand. So earlier it is better, it is to accumulate money, means as early as possible, it will be easier for you to accumulate the desired corpus. So if you are starting at the age of 25 or 30, so your salary or your income will not remain same forever. So if you do calculation on the step up method, see, for example, you want to accumulate 4 crore rupees. Simply, if I tell you a normal middle class person at the age of 30 right now, if he's planning for his retirement, he will need something like 4 crore rupees, 5 crore rupees, truly speaking, considering the inflation. So it looks very big number, like accumulating 4 crore rupees. But you see, if you have 30 years in your hand and you make a plan that if you start with a small number today and keep increasing by 7%, 10% year after year, it will not be difficult. So if you start with the 5,000 rupees per month even and keep increasing that year after year, you'll be able to accumulate good corpus for retirement. So one thing, as I said, first you do the reverse calculation. First, find out the amount you need to accumulate for retirement, and then do the calculation that how much money you need to invest every month to accumulate that goal. And second thing, if that you find difficult, then also the simple thing is try to save, say, 30% at least of your salary every month. But out of the 30%, I understand not everything will go for retirement. You will have other financial goals as well. But in that case, at least try to save 30-35% from your salary every month.
The economy of states which are showing high growth.
Well, yeah, on an absolute basis, if we just throw a number at you, 3 crores, 4 crores, it may sound like a very daunting figure. And you may think that, oh gosh, I'm never going to reach that figure, with my current income. But, the key over here is really starting early. Just saving up small bits and pieces of your money, and eventually it becomes into a big pool, for your retirement corpus. And that's the reason why we stress on why it's so important to start the entire retirement planning process early. The earlier, the better. So that's of course all about retirement. Just to sort of understand, Mr. Mathpal, would you also there's often this misconception that a lot of people do have in their mind that yes, you invest for your retirement, you plan for your retirement, but what after retirement? It's often looked at as one event in your life, but actually when it comes to financial planning, it goes on even post retirement.
Exactly. Mobina, one more thing I would like to add here, which I missed actually, I'll say. When we say that you have to invest, it is important that you invest in such a way that you get returns which are higher than inflation. So if you want to achieve your financial goal, it may not be possible just by investing in post office saving schemes or in fixed deposit. You have to have proper assets in your portfolio, and in long term, as we know that equity has potential to deliver higher returns. So that is why you must include equity in your portfolio. May not be direct equity, but through equity oriented mutual funds. So in your investment portfolio, if you're investing 5,000, 10,000, whatever, you must include equity mutual funds in that, so that you get inflation adjusted returns. That is one important thing, because if you want to accumulate 4 crore rupees, it may not be possible with the returns of 5.5%. You have to achieve higher returns on your investment. Second thing, post retirement, that is very, very important, because after retirement also, if you accumulate a good amount, but that amount is not adjusted with inflation, if you do not invest that money properly, then also there are chances that in next few years only you will spend whole money. So it is important that post retirement, whatever corpus is accumulated, again that should be invested in such a way that it should earn returns higher than inflation. So maybe that when you are young, when you are working for an accumulation, that time you will have higher allocation in equity, less in debt, less in gold. And when you retire, see for example, you started with at the age of 30, you're investing 70% equity. Then slowly you are reducing your exposure in equity. At the time of retirement, maybe that your exposure in equity is only 20%. So after retirement also, you have to keep 20%, 50% exposure in equity oriented mutual fund to beat the inflation. That is very important, because I have seen many times people after retirement, they say that they do not want to take risk and put whole money in fixed deposit only. But in that case, maybe that money will not last till you survive.
Okay. Well, golden words of advice coming in for your silver years from Pankaj Mathpal. Mr. Mathpal, I'm afraid we're out of time. So we will wrap up our conversation right here. Many thanks for joining us today on the show. And viewers, I hope you've heard out Mr. Pankaj Mathpal. It's never too late. In fact, the earlier, the better to kickstart your retirement planning.